Hey everybody, welcome to The Wise Guys. Monday is the best day of the week in the middle of May, and we've got a whole bunch to talk about. The Wise Guys is the largest BYU sports live stream show in the whole world, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Look for our new podcast tomorrow, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find The Wise Guys. Dave McCann, Blaine Fowler, that's us. We're The Wise Guys.
Yeah, and please subscribe to our free email at wiseguys.com. You can watch all of our past content there. I find myself a lot lately, people saying, hey, tell me a little bit more about the podcast. I'm hearing about this. And I end up going to the website and showing them and showing them how to subscribe. We'd love to have you hit the free subscribe button on your YouTube channel as well. So to subscribe to wiseguys.com is free. You get a weekly email. That's free. To subscribe at YouTube is free. We're only asking you to do free stuff. And Elder Sickham always tells us, if it's free, it's for me, and I'll take 3.
Right. We're closing in on 6,000 subscriptions on YouTube.
Yes.
And we're just building that number. Our wives like us to build that number because then it justifies us being away from the house on a Monday night.
Exactly.
So we like to do that too. Brady Plus is our title sponsor. Brady Plus provides cleaning, food service, and packaging equipment, dispensers, and service and repairs for over 150 distribution facilities across the country, over 6,000 employees. Brady Plus empowers, employs, and of course the president is a BYU grad, Travis Brady, big supporters of the Wise Guys.
Yeah, we love Brady Plus, and I see them everywhere I go. Doesn't matter where I'm at in the Western United States. They're all over the country, but also a reminder that Deseret News is now the distribution partner, our distribution partner for the Wise Guys. Deseret.com, Utah's newspaper since 1850. Watch for our content on all their social media platforms as we serve Cougar Nation all over the world, and we are grateful to Deseret News for being our distribution partner.
Got another pretty cool show tonight, and we encourage you to get on the live stream and let us know where you're taking us in from, and we'll try to span the globe as we so often do, and we'll try to give you a shout out too as we get going. Lots of BYU football news, and BYU professor Frank Christianson going to join the show, and you might go, what? Who's Frank Christianson? Well, back in the day, he played safety for the Cougars, and he had a tough assignment of tackling the legendary Marshall Faulk twice in 2 games where not very many people tackled Marshall Faulk. And so he's got a story to tell I think is kind of cool because all the kids in his classes at BYU have no idea that he was young, and when he was young, he was playing football for the Cougars against one of the greatest running backs that we've ever come across.
Yeah, one of the greatest, not just in the history of college football, but also one of the greatest in the history of football, period. And so it'll be really fun to talk to Frank and find out what that was like to be out on the field with Marshall. We talked to Derwin Gray, who tried to chase Marshall down, and remember Derwin said, he was way faster than I ever imagined he would be. And remember, Dewey was fast. Yeah, I'm certain Frank was fast and physical too, but there's just something about Marshall Faulk. So how about BYU basketball adding another piece to the puzzle? We'll look at the entire roster tonight and kind of go through where they're at.
The NBA draft lottery just happened. Egor Demin was there in Chicago. What that could mean for Egor and a landing place, we're going to talk about that coming up. What it didn't mean for the Jazz, they ended up the number 5, hoping for number 1. And so no one close to here is getting the Duke player.
And they had the odds just as high as anybody else to be number 1.
The odds were in their favor.
So unlike the hockey team, that the Utah Hockey Club, the Mammoth, they went as high as they could possibly go. Like they got the best. They were the number 2 in the NHL. You can't go higher than 10 spots. They moved all the way up to the number 4 pick. But for the Jazz, they were kind of hoping to win the Cooper Flag sweepstakes.
Yeah, and Dallas, who had a 1.8% chance of winning, won. So the Mavericks, they send Luka over to the Lakers, and then all of a sudden, hey, here's your number 1 pick. Here's your new Luka.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there in Dallas, Texas. So what does that mean for Egor? That's coming up. And the team with the most national championships on campus is coming on.
Yeah, it's not close, is it?
No.
Cougarettes are here tonight. We've got 2 of them. Yeah. Don't have the whole team coming tonight. We've got 2 of them.
We just don't have the space for the whole team.
Yeah, Abby and Makeila are coming in. Veterans in the Leadership Council. They've been through it, and we're going to pick their brains on how you can have that much sustained excellence over that much time. Yeah. It truly is the most successful program in BYU, and they're in the athletic department, but period. right? Like anyone that competes on a national level, nobody has 26 national titles. Not even our phenomenal landscape team has 26.
No, I think they're second.
Yeah, they're probably second. We had them on.
Cross country's closing in.
Yeah.
But so that's what we have coming up, including everything that's going on campus. So we're glad you spend a couple of hours with us or listening with us here on the podcast to Wise Guys. We've got a cool idea. We'd like to bring you on the show. That's who we're talking about. We're going to invite a listener or viewer to become a wise guy or girl for a day. So we want you to come on the show, share your favorite BYU sports memory with all of our audience all around the world. And so we got a little contest to make it happen.
Yeah, so here's all you have to do. First thing you need to do, and you don't actually have to put your name in something or anything like that. All you need to do is go and follow us on Instagram and X. So formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
So Instagram and X. So you follow at Wise Guys on both of those platforms. Then drop a teaser of your favorite BYU memory into the comments. So go to Wise Guys on those two platforms in the comments and make sure that you follow. And then in the comments put, hey, my favorite BYU memory is ... Give us a little teaser, like you're writing a teaser.
Yeah.
And why don't you tag a friend while you're at it? So tag somebody else while you're at it. And then you can share your post to your stories for an extra entry. So by going in and subscribing and putting, a little teaser on there, you can add to your chances of winning the contest by tagging a friend and sharing your post to your stories. Do those things. Our social media expert, Chantel, is going to kind of monitor all this, and a winner is going to be decided on based on that. And then what happens with that winner?
Well, our deadline's June 1, so we got a few weeks to gather, and we'll talk about it on a few more shows. We'll announce the winner on our show on June 2nd, and then we'll schedule you to be on the show. We'll do a Zoom wherever you are in the world.
Yeah. If you're close enough by to come,
you can come on in.
You can come in. Yeah. We'll have other guests, so you get to meet the guests in studio that night. If you're close enough to make the trek in, you can come in. You can be here for your part. You can stay here in the studio for the whole show if you want.
Bring some friends.
We'll have to limit the number of friends, I think. The studio's only so big. But you can bring a couple friends and just kind of hang out that night with us. If you're far away, let's say you're in Singapore or South America.
We'll have to Zoom
We'll have you Zoom in like we have many of our guests Zoom in. And so Dennis Pitta always Zooms in. Yeah. Why does Dennis never come in?
Well, he should, but he spends a lot of time in California.
Yeah, so he zooms in. So you can zoom in like Dennis Pitta. So there it is. Make sure you go and starting right now, right?
Be a wise guy or girl for a day.
That's right.
Right here on this show. And we'd love to have as many of you on the show as we can possibly do. And since we're going to be on for a long, long time, there's a good chance that we can get you on, not for just a statement, which we love to read in the stream, but on the show.
Right.
So that everyone can see you.
Make sure. All you got to do is follow us on those two platforms, Instagram and X, and put a tease in there in the comments, and you'll get double the chance if you tag a friend,
and if you keep doing
and then
it,
you share your
chances.
post to your stories on Instagram. Yeah. So there you
Sweet.
go.
All right, let's do some headlines here. Football this afternoon. BYU picks up San Diego State defensive back Tavion Beasley to bolster the secondary. Before the Aztecs, he played for Deion Sanders at Colorado and was with Deion at Jacksonville State. So in the dartboard of what do the Cougars need, everyone likes to say, well, they could use some more depth in the secondary. Voila.
Right. And what they really like about Tavion is his versatility, because not only can he play corner, he's also physical enough to play nickel. And that's, you have to have great feet and have great coverage skills to be able to do that. But to move over and play nickel, you have to kind of be like a strong safety. And he has played strong safety in the past as well. So he's physical enough to kind of be in the box and play at that nickel and cover inside receivers. And he's got the feet to play corner. So they're going to get a lot of utility out of Tavion. And that's one of the reasons they like him. He's physical. He's fast. He plays with good instincts. And you know what's fun? They recruited him out of high school. BYU was his first offer.
Nice.
And so it all kind of comes full circle. And after 2 years at San Diego State, he's going to find himself back on the Cougs roster and hopefully being a contributor. So nice depth that BYU's adding there. And who knows, if he plays really, really well, he could work his way into that lineup.
Fantastic. Vernal, Debbie's in. Sandy, that's Mark in from Sandy. I saw San Diego on there. Northwest Missouri. Seth is there. And the Mackeys are in from Drummond, Montana. Say hello to us on the stream, and we'll try to say hello to everybody else for you. ESPN's preseason post-spring top 10 is out. Penn State's number 1. Clemson's number 2. Texas is 3. Georgia is 4. Ohio State's 5. LSU is 6. Notre Dame 7. Oregon's 8. Alabama's 9. And why are we giving the ESPN post-spring top 10? Because BYU's number 10.
And is that awesome or what? And
Yeah.
they seem to be grabbing some momentum. It's building for the Cougs. People were talking, wow, they finished 14, maybe they're 14, but we're seeing more and more of these preseason prognosticators saying, hey, maybe they're a top 10 team. Clearly top 12 team. College football playoff in 2025 is a 12-team playoff. And so, everybody's basically saying, hey, we expect this to be at that level, a team that should compete for a college football playoff. And with the players we've had on and talked to, not only on this show, but on our Sports Nation shows, up on our FanFest shows, the players feel like they left something out there last year, that they're very disappointed with the 2 games that they lost. They feel like they should have won those. One more win gets them in the college football playoff. So that's the goal this year, I think, for everybody. And the preseason polls would say that people believe.
I was on Sports Nation this morning, and we had a writer from CBSSports.com, and he said he's picking BYU to win the Big 12. And so he's right there, too, going, hey, and if they're not in the conversation for the college football playoff at the end of the season, then there'll be some disappointment.
Yeah, how about that?
I like that mindset.
No, I like it, too. So speaking of momentum, there seems to be some momentum for expanding the college football playoff from the 12 teams that we had this last year and this year to 16 in 2026. The current proposal would guarantee 4 teams from the SEC, 4 teams from the Big 10, 2 each from the Big 12 and the ACC, 1 spot for the top-ranked G6 team, and then 3 at large. So what do you think about that?
Well, I don't love that the 4th-place team in any conference just automatically gets to go to the playoff.
Yeah.
And you know what? The 4th-place team from the SEC or the Big 10 probably deserves to be in the playoff, but let them get there at large. Because they deserve to be there, not just because they took 4th place. So there's got to be some modification there. Probably won't be. I think and then they get the 3 playoff spots. So I think they're trying to figure out how to get half their leagues into this.
Right.
And last year, outside of playing in the bowl games, the SEC was the elite.
Yeah.
Was the elite conference. But I do like 2 locked spots for the Big 12.
But why not just do 2 locked spots for the major conferences for the Power 4? So that gives you 8, right? And then you have the top-rated G5 guaranteed, right? And then everybody else be at large.
Yeah, I like that
If you're
too.
so confident the SEC is, God's gift to college football,
and the Big
then
10,
you're going to have 4 teams.
Yeah, but they're in it for themselves.
Right.
And so they're not looking for what's fair and reasonable. They're looking, if we get 4 and then we get a couple more, then we can get 7.
I think everybody would have been thrilled last year for the Big 12 to have 2.
Yeah.
Now, who would have gotten the second bid?
Well,
now,
probably the 2 teams that played in the championship game.
As you look back, I think most people would say, hey, BYU's probably right there. Arizona State and BYU were maybe the 2 best teams in the conference when it was all said and done.
Right.
But that was after the bowl games, and BYU throttled Colorado.
So that's getting some momentum. That's probably going to pass.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing is that 16 teams is more money.
Right.
More games, more money. And that seems to be the underlying factor in all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like more the merrier, and 2 spots for the Big 12. BYU can be one of the 2 spots in the Big 12.
Yeah, absolutely.
Year in and year out, and then that puts them in the mix.
Exactly. ESPN ranks BYU's 2026 recruiting class number 23 in the country. That's the highest BYU's ever been ranked on a recruiting class.
And it just keeps going up.
Yeah.
With Brock Harris.
Yeah.
And our interview with Brock, you can see at wiseguys.com. Ryder Lyons, we'll see if BYU's going to get him or not. If they do, they're going to jump up into the teens for the 2026 recruiting class, even though those are missionaries heading out. So it'll be 28 before they're here. But BYU's getting kids, even LDS kids, that they haven't been getting.
Yeah, and they've been getting kids out of the transfer portal that have a major impact. Like I was kind of doing a plus minus in my own head last night, and I'm thinking, wow, you know what? BYU has really added much more than they've lost by a long, long shot with folks like Tanavasa at defensive tackle, and I mean they address spots where they really had needs. And how about they go and get Bachmeier kid at quarterback?
Yeah.
That was completely unexpected, but huge.
Huge.
So,
huge.
Yeah.
Steve is on the stream from Olympia, Washington. He can't wait for football and basketball. Arlene says we love our Cougarettes.
That's Arlen Lawrence.
Arlen?
So,
okay, we do love our Cougarettes.
Yeah.
And they're coming up in just a little
yeah.
bit. By the way, the request to purchase road tickets is now available. So the Cougars are going to play at East Carolina, Colorado, Arizona, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati. Go to BYUtickets.com, put in your request, and then you'll find out if you have been granted those for an opportunity to see the Cougars when they come to your part of the country. Or if you want to fly there and see them.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, Jess Cromwell kind of tricked me. So, or Cornwell says, hey, I'm waving from across the pond. And I'm thinking London, right?
Yeah.
UK someplace? No, Saratoga Springs.
The other pond.
The other pond.
The Utah Lake pond.
Doesn't count. You can't say that.
Sometimes it smells like a pond.
Utah's in the house. Vernal's in the house. Drummond, Montana's in the house. You mentioned Olympia, Washington. And we've got Vegas in the house already. Waiting to hear from our folks from around the globe. Where are you, Singapore?
There's Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago's in the house. Where are you, Singapore? Where are you, Colombia?
El Salvador.
Was last week.
Australia.
So,
yeah.
There you go. Luke
Huntsville,
Jardine.
Alabama's in.
At the Texas Tech. There you go. Alabama showing up. So,
a couple of college football rivalries shifted to Black Friday. Now, you know, the interesting thing about football now is they're playing on any days.
Right.
So moving to Black Friday, Ole Miss and Mississippi at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and then Texas A&M, Texas that night.
Yeah, two big rivalries.
And then BYU hosts UCF the following day on Saturday, November 29th.
Yeah, is that the weekend we want BYU to play Utah?
Typically, that's Thanksgiving weekend.
It just isn't happening. And
yeah,
that's okay though. BYU hosting Central Florida on traditional rivalry weekend.
Yeah.
There's a full NFL schedule release Wednesday, but games we know about: July 31st, a Hall of Fame game. That's the Chargers and the Lions. That game's on NBC. September 4th is the Cowboys at the Eagles.
That announced today.
Yeah, NBC season opener, and then on September 5th, the Chiefs at the Chargers, or versus the Chargers.
Down in Brazil.
In Brazil, that's right.
And then just before we came on the air, December 25th, Christmas night, Broncos at the Chiefs. So
yeah.
Andy Reid will be back in the Santa suit on Sunday night on Prime Network. And then, again, more games will be leaked out tonight, tomorrow, and then everything on Wednesday. It's kind of exciting when the schedule comes because you look and see, okay, what's our Thanksgiving lineup? You know, and what are the Sunday night games? And it just keeps people thinking. The NFL's genius.
Yeah.
On the day of the NBA lottery, they float out a couple of
They have to release something,
games.
and everybody's looking forward to NFL. NFL is America's game.
And as you calendar, how about this Saturday to Saturday of football? August 30th, Saturday night, Portland State at BYU, and then September 2nd, Tuesday, after further review on BYU TV. Then Thursday is the Cowboys-Eagles opener on NBC. Friday, Chiefs-Chargers on YouTube. That's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, Stanford and BYU. Those are 7 glorious days.
Yeah, that's going to be good. And by the way, those first 2 Saturday games, you got Portland State at BYU, you got Stanford at BYU. Our guests that are coming up, they'll be on the field for both of those games.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be fun. It's fun to have a home games. I don't care how hot it is.
Yeah.
And once the sun goes down, everything's great.
Yeah. Basketball. Let's talk a little basketball. Summer workouts are in full swing. They had a full team workout last week. They're off this week because I was trying to track down Richie for something, and he's out of town this week. They'll be back with a team workout all of next week. So kind of an on again, off again right now. And so they're together as a team. Last week they only had 7 guys in. That will grow as the summer moves along, as they add pieces. But the 7 that were in the building last week, man, that's a lot of talent that was in the building last week working out, including AJ Dybantsa. The Cougars added another piece to the puzzle today. They added 6'3" guard Nate Pickins from UC Riverside, not today, just the other day. He averaged 9.8 points per game, scored 18 against BYU.
Yeah, we got a good sneak preview
they
of all these guys.
They have a way of going to go get these guys that had really good games against them.
It's like, who lit us up? Let's get those guys.
Yeah, and you look at his background, 53 starts over 3 years. He's a knockdown three-point shooter, so he can knock down threes. But when Kevin Young comments on him, he says, hey, what I really like is he's a 6'3", like really well-built physical guard like we see in the Big 12 all the time. We talk about Houston's guards and how physical they are and how physical this league is. Iowa State's guards and how physical they are. This is an answer to that. Nate Pickins, not only can he knock down threes, but he can guard on the perimeter and he can be really physical against the physical play in this league on the perimeter. So,
College Basketball Report said no one in college basketball is having a better offseason than BYU.
No. Well, we talked about BYU highest ranking ever for football recruiting.
Yeah.
No way has basketball ever been even close, right?
So we put a starting five together. We think this is pretty much going to be it. We'll run down some of these names and then look at some of the early schedule nuggets that we have. But you got AJ Dybantsa, number one recruit in the world at 6'9". Richie Saunders at 6'5". He's a senior. Rob Wright's a sophomore from Baylor. He's 6 foot. Kennard Davis Jr., 6'6". Junior and junior.
Right.
It's Kennard Davis Jr., who's a junior from Southern Illinois, and then Makeila at 6'8", who's a senior. That's not the tallest group, but that's the most athletic group that you may ever see.
Yeah, and they can all defend, they can all rebound. Rob Wright was regarded as one of the top transfer portal gets in the country. Yeah. He really boosted BYU up into that top 3 in the country in recruiting class because of his ability. And I like, and some of these guys that we're talking about maybe coming off the bench may not be coming off the bench by the time, because we would have had Mawit Mag on the bench to start last year. And he certainly became a integral starter for what they were doing. So you got Dawson Baker, who's a senior, and his game came a long way from the year before last to last year. If he makes that kind of progress, he will certainly have a major impact. Could he work his way in the starting lineup? Possibly.
Yeah, why not?
Tyler Maras, junior out of Idaho, he kind of talked to us last week on the show and said, this year I need to be a primary go-to guy that comes off the bench and get ready to be a star the next year, his senior year. So Nate Pickins, we just talked about. Maybe he's the guy that has so much physicality and so good defensively that Kevin Young says, you know what, just for defense sake, we need to start him.
Could be.
So, you just don't know with this. And then Xavier Staten, the freshman, the 7-footer, are there certain games where you say, you know what, we need to start a 7-footer? And could Caleb play the 4? Could you put those two guys on the floor at the same time against certain lineups?
Hey, AJ said, do not sleep on Xavier.
Yeah, exactly. Brody Kozlowski at 6'7", who can really shoot it, had a tremendous start and then broke his wrist, and he's back shooting the basketball. Makeila Boskovic, 6'10", and showed flashes of brilliance last year. Could he work his way into the starting lineup? He's certainly going to play a major role off the bench. Kadeem Mbop, the freshman.
And he's the mystery man.
We don't know.
But
he's got length, because he sat out last year. And then Dominique Diamande, the freshman out of Washington, who we know is a really good defensive stopper. And they literally brought him in because of his defensive prowess. Could he be a Mawit Mag where they go, man, we got to play the guy because he's so good on defense? And I think he's going to surprise people with his offensive skills.
And are you going to play 11 guys again?
Yeah. Look at what we just talked about there. That is a crazy talented team.
That's why some folks have BYU ranked number 4. Some have them number 3, number 5 in the preseason polls. That's the reason why those guys and AJ had said there are a couple other guys out there that they're going to add that we didn't know, and one of them was Nate Pickins, who was announced a couple days after our interview. So we'll see what happens. We do know that the schedule's still kind of a mystery, but on November 3rd they'll play Villanova at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Thanksgiving week, Georgetown, Miami, and Dayton. They'll get 2 of those. Back in Orlando. December 9th, Clemson at Madison Square Garden.
How cool is that?
Where the Knicks and Celtics are playing tonight. And then December 22nd, Eastern Washington's going to come to BYU. And you know what? That's got us written all over it for one of our games.
Probably do that one.
But I like having a game close to Christmas because everyone's in the holiday spirit.
Right.
And it's kind of festive. And sometimes the ticket prices drop a little bit because the students are gone and gives folks a chance to bring their kids and have a good time.
I can't imagine the Marriott Center not being sold out for every game this year.
I can't either. But, when the students are out.
Yeah, but
out.
my thing is when the students are out, if BYU's smart and says, hey, we want the whole community to come, we're going to do discount family tickets, they should fill that place up to see this team.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be fun, and we'll get a chance to probably call that, and along with many others in the preseason and during the regular season this next year.
We mentioned a moment ago, and Egor just tweeted out that he was at the lottery there in Chicago, which is also where the combine is, and he's back there working out all week. The draft lottery a short time ago, it's Dallas 1, Spurs 2, Sixers 3, Hornets 4, and the Jazz couldn't do better than 5. And so Jazz are disappointed for sure. Mavericks are over the moon because they're going to get flagged from Duke. But our interest is Egor Demin and the latest NBA mock drafts. And remember, the lottery is 1 through 14.
Right.
And so here's the latest on some of the folks. This is from as most recent as today.
Right. ESPN has him number 12 to the Bulls. So they've got him as a lottery pick, right? CBS Sports has him 13 to the Hawks. Travis Hansen's old team, which would be interesting, right? Some rumors about Travis being on the, on the
name kicked around
leadership team there. Yahoo Sports has him number 14 to the Spurs. So all those agencies have him in the lottery. The Ringer, I'm not sure. I've read the Ringer.
I haven't read the Ringer.
But they have him at number 15 to the Thunder. So that would be outside. And then Sports Illustrated has him 18 to the Wizards.
So we'll see. We'll see. But now that the lottery teams know where they're picking, if a team loved Egor and they're now the 9th pick, then he's going to go number 9.
Exactly.
So we'll see. But he's back there working out, and he's been on Sports Nation and great spirits and looking forward to that. BYU just has 3 lottery picks.
Right.
In history, Rafael Araujo, Sean Bradley, remember him? 7'6". Yep. Michael Smith, by the way, was 13th in the 1989 draft, but the lottery's only 9 spots.
Yeah.
So, and then you throw Jimmer in there, and that's the 3. So that's our lottery talk for tonight. Those watching the stream can see the shifting going on.
And by the way, everybody say hi to Jack, our executive producer.
Hey, Jack.
Who's our partner in all
DJ's
of this.
DJ's over here.
Jack's the one that had the vision for this whole thing.
All right, so Blaine's going to come sit here.
This is the studio. Yeah.
Our first guests are going to sit there. Blaine, you come over here.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
How's everything?
So great.
Good to see you.
Our guests tonight represent the most dominant program on campus when it comes to national championships. Football has 1, golf has 1. The BYU Cheer and Stunt Squad just won a national title. Cross Country has 8. And the BYU Cougarettes have 26. Our pleasure to welcome 2 key Cougarettes, Makeila Lawrence, a 3rd year from Orem, Utah, and Abby Gray, a 4th year from Draper, Utah. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah,
What do you
excited.
think of our place?
Oh my gosh, I low-key saw it from the window. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so nice. It's so cool.
Yeah, we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into,
Yeah.
but
This is it.
really cool.
This
We
is
love
it.
it already, yeah.
Well, it's awesome to have you here. We want to put these accumulations into some perspective. The history of college football. Alabama has 18 national titles. Michigan has 12. Notre Dame has 11. Those are the 3 most of all the teams.
The
that played.
greatest college football programs in history.
And you have 26.
Yeah.
So what do you attribute this long-term success to?
Oh my goodness. There's so many things. I feel like it's like our coaches, like starting from Jody from years ago and then going into Stacy and Morgan the past few years, like those are definitely a big part. And then it's the girls, the talent just starts growing more and more every single year. It's like even this year, I'm like, holy cow, the freshmen this year are just like ridiculous. And so even every single year, it just keeps getting more and more intense, but still more and more great with talent and minds and brains and everything just like building up.
What's your take?
I feel like there's definitely a legacy with the Cougarettes that has carried on since it started as a program. I feel like a lot of our teammates actually have like moms that were on the team, and I feel like because of the Cougarette culture, we've always wanted to be successful, not only in our dance career and what we're accomplishing, on the surface, what people see, but also we have things that we want to be better at in every aspect of life, not just dance. And I feel like that definitely takes into our success with like winning national titles and stuff. So yeah.
When you guys go and compete in nationals, which you didn't this last year, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But you do have one advantage over Alabama in these schools because you can win more than one in a year. And so let's break it down for folks. You have 8 national championships in the Open Jazz division, 10 in hip hop, and 8 more in team performance. So there's 3 different disciplines, but usually you only participate in 2 on any given year, right?
Yeah.
How many times since you guys have been here, and you didn't get to compete this last year, did you double up and win both categories that you're entered in a year? Does that happen often for the Cougs?
Yeah. I mean, for the past 3 years, the 3 years we won hip hop and jazz in a row. And then before that, it's like 5 hip hops and then 3 jazzes in a row. So it's like overlaps a little bit, but I don't know how many like in total we've won both years, but that's at least 6.
At least 6 times in your recent memory that you've doubled up and not only win in one genre, but go and dominate another. And hip hop and jazz are 2 very different things, right? I mean, like it's crazy.
Yes, it is.
But yet it's the same girls that are out there on the floor. How in the world can you be dominant in 2 things that are that different? It's almost like being a distance runner and a sprinter, and you go out and you just win both.
Do both, yeah. I feel like one thing that the coaches really take into account when they're bringing in new girls on the team is versatility and the ability to be able to do both. I feel like obviously everyone has their strengths, but seeing the potential that each girl has on the team to be able to get to where they need to in both, styles is something that they really think about and take into account when they're bringing new girls on the team.
Well, and you also have a couple of gold medals, right?
Yes.
In both jazz and hip hop from the ICU Worlds in 21. But this year, you guys decided to let everyone else have a chance. Is that what happened this year?
What happened?
We had this amazing opportunity from BYU to do a cruise, and it was like once in a lifetime, the coolest thing I think I will probably ever do in my whole life.
Yeah.
And it obviously overlapped with the nationals, and so it's like, what can you do? No other college program probably will ever or has ever done this, and I think that's just such a amazing opportunity that you can't pass up.
And on the cruise, I was there. We were all together. You got to perform the pieces that you would have done at nationals and literally do a whole concert, almost like Cougarettes in concert that you do every year for the whole cruise ship, basically in 2 performances in the big theater. What was that like to dance on stage like that?
It was so fun.
So cool.
Yeah, so we basically shortened our concert from February and brought it onto the cruise. So it was only like an hour instead of like an hour and a half-ish. But it was so fun. It was definitely different. You could feel the boat tipping a little bit.
How do you do turns?
Oh my goodness.
Like
core strength.
Just like tightening your abs like crazy.
Lots of planks before,
So when we're talking about explain to people that aren't familiar, what is a turn? What I'm saying, when you're doing turns on a boat, like what's a turn?
You're standing on one foot, your arms are here, and you're just spinning around in a circle on one foot, and you just don't put the other foot down,
keep going,
and you just keep going.
And to do that all together, synchronized with everyone, on flat ground that's not moving is hard enough to do, right?
Definitely.
Let alone when you're on a cruise ship and that thing's going. Did you feel it while you were up there performing?
Yeah, it did feel a little bit weird. It felt like a lot of just like pressure, and like sometimes I would feel myself just like wobbling a little bit, but we made it work. It happened. Yeah, so
that's awesome. That just sounds like Saturday morning in the kitchen with kids, right?
Just
spinning
chaotic.
around, ready to go.
Just going everywhere.
By the time that we see you do your performance at a timeout at LaVelle Edwards Stadium or at the Marriott Center, how much prep time has gone into this 90-second routine?
So we start practices towards the end of July or beginning of August. And throughout that time, so we actually just had our auditions at the end of April. And then we are encouraged and basically required to train on our own throughout the summer to make sure that we are keeping up our skills, right? Like summer is not the time to chill for us. I mean, technically there's no time to chill ever for us. But yeah, definitely summertime is where we do like training on our own. And then when we get together back in July, August, we call them work weeks, which is basically 9 to 4 every day, 6 days a week. And we prep our like nationals routines, or like routines that we're kind of like recycling from the last year going into this next year.
Yeah.
We recycle those, put in the new girls. We also prep our timeouts and stuff. So just a lot of like, and like sidelines, but just a lot of like prep going into it. But yeah, for a solid 2 or 3 weeks, we have 9 to 4, 6 days a week. So
you have fall camp just like football has fall camp then.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you're
sure.
all day just like football's all. But they only do one practice a day now. The NCAA has said, listen, you can only go out on the field and practice one time. You can do a workout in the afternoon, like go lift, or you can have team meetings, but you can only go out and actually go full go one time a day. You guys only go one time all day long. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, we have an hour for lunch.
Yeah, there's
in
like an hour
between.
break.
So you have double sessions with 1 hour break.
Sessions, like
Yes.
2 a days, like
Yeah.
9 to 12, and then 12 to 1, you get to like eat or go take a nap or get some swig, and then
Yeah.
1 to 4, you're back at it going ham.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
BYU Cougarettes, Makeila Lawrence and Abby Gray on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Gil is on the stream from the Philippines. Raleigh, North Carolina is in with us tonight as folks check in from all over the world. Now, when Cosmo checks in, because he is often a performer with your group,
Yes.
when does he do his stuff? And how do you get so synchronized? Is he there the whole time, or how does that work?
Yeah, he comes in when we do practices in the summer during those like 9 to 4 camps. Obviously, Cosmo doesn't have to be there for 9 to 4 and practice turns with us. But when we do our timeouts and things like that, we'll tell him when to come in, and he'll get to come in and practice and learn the cleans. And he's treated kind of like us, where he has to know all the cleans and he has to know everything.
Yeah, there's
and learn his
definitely an
cues.
expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But he kills it every time.
He's
So,
so good.
And what can we had the person in athletics that
Dave Eberhard.
Yeah, you know Dave Eberhard. You guys know Dave because
Yeah.
he's works with you guys too. But I was thinking you wouldn't know who he was. You know exactly who he is. But he's responsible for Cosmo, and he went through all the different things that Cosmo can do. Do you guys ever stand
crazy.
back and go, "This is just nuts. How can this person do this?"
yeah, it's crazy, especially like dancing with him in practices. It's like, we train all our lives for this, and then you just so naturally talented to be able to do this. It's crazy. It's amazing.
With the thing over his head.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
With
Right.
be able to see like
and
this, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
he's somehow just dancing just as good as all of us, and it's like he can only see that much. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, Makeila, Gil says a special shout out to you from the Philippines.
Oh, that's my family. My family's from the Philippines.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, there you go. A special shout out from the Philippines from the fam down there.
So it's Monday nights, family home evening.
Family
That's what
home
I got
evening.
going on
Actually, in the
there.
Philippines is probably tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's Tuesday morning in the
Yeah.
Philippines right
We have
now.
all of our folks that tune in from Japan and the Pacific Rim. They always tell us, "It's 9. I'm out for a walk. It's 10 in the morning. We're watching
Oh
at
my
work."
goodness.
That's so
And they
cool.
watch from all over the world. So
Wow.
take us through, because I marvel at the dedication it takes to have the kind of success that you guys have had and to perform the way you do, to compete in nationals the way you do. But you're also students. And so you've got this responsibility to do well academically. You've got to practice. Then you got to go out and represent BYU on cruises and in classrooms and things all over the place. What's a typical week like for you during the school year? Do you ever have a time to just chill?
Yes, sometimes. It definitely depends on the week. On average, we have about 1 performance a week, but we practice every day, 6 days a week for 3 hours, and it switches off between afternoon practices and morning practices. So typically on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we practice from like 3 to 6 p.m., and then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we practice 6 to 9 a.m. So that honestly has helped a lot with flexibility in our schedules with school, and a lot of us teach dance for our job and also to, let us have a social life a little bit. So that's typically what happens, but then we sometimes have to switch our schedule because we have choreographers coming in, so we have to have longer days. But yeah, it honestly just depends on the week.
So if Shandon, the great hip-hop choreographer, comes in, then all of a sudden you're spending full-on days with her?
12
there?
hours
Yeah.
usually. Like
Yeah.
10 to 12 hours. You're just on your feet, you're working hard, you're dancing. And so, yeah, when she comes in, or even regular choreographers for our concert or for our jazz nationals, you're there for up to 3 hours, up to 12 hours. It kind of just
It depends.
depends on
Yeah.
who the choreographer is.
Yeah.
And you just said something, and I know Dave and I want to talk to you about. This should be posted for our jobs. We teach dance. I know you're both choreographers that go all over and choreograph things for dance companies around the state and around the West. You having to do that during the season?
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually most of us teach at studios during the week. So like personally for me, I teach on Tuesday nights at a studio. I know Makeila teaches on Monday nights. But yeah, and then like usually throughout the summer, that's when we like travel to choreograph for different high schools and stuff. But usually throughout the school year, it's just at one location.
So scholarships and NIL, do they come your way?
A little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little
Good.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, they should.
Yeah.
But just a little bit. You still have
Yeah,
jobs.
we still
Yes.
have to work
Yeah.
because there are still things that need to be done.
Well,
So-
I'm
Sure.
adding up in my head. Like I'm trying to add it up in my head, you guys, and I'm going, okay, so they're choreographing and they're getting a little bit of money for that. They may have some NIL money or a scholarship check, but then they're also have 3 hours of practice every day. But if a choreographer's in town, it might be 12 hours a day. And then you are going to class. These are 60 and 70 hour weeks, you guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, living the dream.
Living
Yeah.
the dream.
Yeah.
Where's the fun part?
Honestly, in practice is fun.
is
Like
a blast.
it's so fun creating relationships and friendships with our teammates and our coaches and our choreographers. Like over the past 3 years that I've been on the team, I've definitely made the deepest and most meaningful relationships with my teammates because of what we do in practice. It's so bonding, and those relationships carry on throughout. Like even if it's just a let's grab a drink after practice or let's go to the temple after practice, like little things like that with your teammates really help with the unity of it, which helps with the enjoyment of it as well.
How does the success of football and basketball with these enormous crowds motivate the Cougarettes to push the needle and just keep getting better?
I mean, when there's like thousands and thousands of audience crowd in the Lavelle Edwards Stadium, and you're like, okay, we've got a timeout, and every single person is going to be watching you because you're on the big screen, you're on TV, you're everywhere. I mean, that's a pretty big pressure that you have to be like, okay, we've got to dial in and we have to look good because there's no other choice because there's so many people.
But it's awesome, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
you're rock stars.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
so fun. Our coaches always remind us that everyone can see you. Like even if you're in the back row, back corner, there's someone that can see you because there's so many people that are watching us and we're surrounded by so many people. So I feel like that's something that's cool too. And also we don't, honestly, like we do it for the crowd's enjoyment, but also we do it for ourselves. And we also just want to push ourselves and do our best to make us feel good about our job and what we're doing.
And when you're doing all of this, you're representing BYU,
Yeah.
right? And so that hangs over you, or you've got to do this. When the coach says everybody's watching, even at nationals, everybody's watching, right? To see what you're like. And you guys have both been. How many nationals? You've been to a couple each, right?
I've been to one.
I've been to two.
So you've been to two. I've been to two.
Okay.
And I've never seen anything more pressure packed in my life.
Yeah.
And I played in
It's
front
a
of
lot.
80,000 people in a national championship game before.
It is a
and I
lot.
never felt the pressure that I felt there watching.
Yeah.
It's different. In football, if there's 11 guys out on the field and the left tackle makes a mistake, if the other 10 guys kind of do it, you might be able to make up for the mistake. Every single person on that floor or on that stage is being watched by the judges. And if how many in your hip hop routine? How many people?
The cap is 20.
So you got 20 in hip hop routine. If 19 people do it perfectly, but the 20th makes a mistake, falls out of a turn, does something, there's no way for you to win.
Right.
Yeah.
There's little room for error.
So
in that.
all 20 have to be perfect.
Yeah, there's no wiggle room for a fall over on a turn or a mess up on a trick or a false cleaning that you messed up. There's no room for that when it comes to nationals.
That's tremendous pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
That's more pressure than being in front of 65,000 at the stadium, right?
Yeah.
Right. Because in a way, they're going to forget it after, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we're going to remember our mistakes, but it's just like, oh, the Cougarettes just danced. Like, that was so fun. A nice timeout routine. Like, just some entertainment.
Cosmo was in there.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
But with nationals and competition, it's definitely different because we're always wanting to bring something new And I feel like everyone is always just watching what any team is bringing to nationals to be different and to be innovative and to bring something fresh to the dance world. And so, yeah, there's a lot of eyes on us.
How do you get ready for that though? When like how do you block out, I can't make a mistake and just perform at your peak because it is the elite?
I feel like a lot of trust goes into it, trust in yourself and also in your teammates. Leading up to nationals, we have about 6 weeks, and those are the most like packed weeks of our entire year. We practice. After practice, we usually like send in videos, making sure we're hitting our turns, hitting our tricks. We're always studying videos from practice. There's a lot that goes into it. And I feel like at some point, we usually reach the point right before the week of nationals where we're feeling pretty good and we peak right at nationals, like meaning we, do our absolute best. And I feel like a lot of that just comes from the amount of practicing that we do and trusting in ourselves, but also knowing that every single girl on the floor is going to kill it because she's also done the work.
Well, the next performance is August 30th.
Yes.
At Lavelle Edwards Stadium. Are you already working on the routine?
Not yet.
No?
We'll get there in August. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. One thing I've noticed, especially in the hip hop, and this might sound like a stupid question, but and there's no stupid question on this show, although sometimes we do ask them.
Sometimes we ask them, but everybody's always nice to us.
Okay, so why is everyone so angry during the hip hop?
Yeah, that's such a great question. That is a great question.
There's no smile.
You got to act like a tough guy.
Right.
Yeah. What is it about that?
I feel like when I listen to hip hop music, that's like kind of just the vibe you get or the vibe that I feel. Unless it's like a girly hip hop or something, that's when I can smile. But if I'm listening to like a hip hop song in the car with my parents or something and I'm like, like this is getting me here, not like here. And so it's like, it's giving me a stink face and like a,
So you can dance with an edge when you're hip hop.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay.
I think
Performance
so.
is a big thing for us.
It's huge.
Like we need to use our face. Like even if you're the most talented, like physically capable person, if you don't have that connection with your face and your performance.
So we should know, as we watch that, we should know that all of you are happy to be out there doing it.
Absolutely.
So you're not miserable. You're not mad. You're really not mad.
We're not angry.
No, not mad.
I have one more question. Whether it's performing out in the stadium or going to a school and doing something or nationals where you're really, really in the spotlight, the standards of BYU are out there and everybody has expectations. What's that like to know that you're representing the university and what they stand for?
It's honestly an honor. I remember the first time when I got like my first Cougarette backpack and like my first like gear and stuff with the Y on it. I was like so excited to represent BYU as a university, but also like be a representative of Jesus Christ. That's something that we really emphasize on our team is, yes, we're Cougarettes in practice, but we're also Cougarettes everywhere that we go. And we really try to share that light not only in our dancing when we're performing, but also as we're hanging out with our friends, talking, meeting new people in class. Like we really try to represent what being a Cougarette is outside of practice and inside of practice, but definitely outside of practice because it's not just your talent level. Yeah. It's not just you as a dancer. It's the kind of person that you are that's important for us.
Makeila?
Yeah, you'd be surprised at how many people just like look at you and they're like, oh, you're a Cougarette. Like you don't even have to have the BYU gear on or your backpack that says your name on it. Like people will just say like, oh, you're a Cougarette. And it's so cool to realize that because they can see the light of Christ that we share on the team. And it really just shows so much. When you're talking to someone, like on the cruise, I met so many people and I only had my uniform on like the majority of like 5 times. Yeah. But I was on that cruise for 8 days. And there were so many people that would stop and be like, oh my gosh, like you're a Cougarette. And like would talk for minutes and hours. And it was so amazing to just be like, oh, I represent such an amazing university and such an amazing gospel. And it's so cool that I get to do that.
Awesome. That's awesome.
It's definitely special.
BYU Cougarettes Abby Gray and Makeila Lawrence on the Wise Guys. We're live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and wiseguys.com. And our podcast will be out tomorrow wherever you get your podcasts. It's time for 5 questions. This is where we're really going to get to know you.
Very important.
Here we go.
5 questions is presented by Strategy Square. Give your online business a boost with Chantal, a BYU alum at strategysquare.co. All right, Blaine, you ready to lead us?
Yeah, and remind me, I just added a 6th question to your 5.
All right,
Everybody does
6
5, but I
questions.
just added a 6th
A
one.
bonus one right out
I
of the
had a
gate.
bonus
a
question.
bonus.
So just know you're going to
great.
get 6.
All right.
So, and we'll do Makeila first, and then Abby, and then we'll do Abby, and then Makeila.
Okay,
Love it.
Like on the next question. So question 1, your favorite sports movie?
I love Remember the Titans.
Titans.
Nice.
Remember the
Classic.
Titans is just such a classic.
But Abby immediately laughed when I said this. Why did you just laugh?
My mind went blank.
So
I
just
can't think of any. Oh my god.
Come on, there's got to be a
got it.
sports
I'm
movie. Like,
thinking-
what about Bring It On?
Sure.
Oh,
No,
that's-
come on.
I don't
you
know.
can't say Bring It On. No.
I'm
Do
like
you know
a
what-
rom-com fan.
Step Up could
I
be.
don't watch sports movies. I watch rom-coms. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, Abby.
no
what about
Hoosiers, no
Rudy?
nothing?
What about Rudy?
I haven't seen that.
Rudy. Have you seen
Have
Hoosiers?
you seen Remember the Titans?
Like once, a long time ago. I don't even remember it. I'm so sorry.
Wow. Okay, what's your favorite rom-com, Abby?
There's so many. To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Oh, that's
It's just
All
like
the
a
Boys
classic.
I've Loved
It's just
Before.
like,
that's a good one.
yeah.
I don't know that one.
It makes me want to fall in love.
We're putting an asterisk next to this.
Yeah.
Wait, it makes you want to fall in love.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
nothing right now.
All right.
No, I'm single.
Okay. Oh, Abby's single.
I'm
Makeila?
single. I'm engaged.
Yeah, I know
Yep.
that. I did know that. So I know Makayla's grandma and grandpa. So
Okay.
Okay. Now we'll go. Now you'll go. You first, Abby.
Okay.
No blanks on this one
Okay.
because I know you have one for this.
Okay.
Your favorite singer or band?
Ooh, okay. Lately, I mean, I'm always a Chris Brown fan. So, love Chris Brown. We actually did our nationals routine to a Chris Brown song my freshman year, and it was like my favorite ever. It was like awesome. I was living for it.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
All right,
Chris
Chris
Brown.
Brown.
Okay, Makeila.
I love Lana Del Rey.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Lana
my
Del Rey.
everything.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
We Dave and I changed. He's an AC/DC guy.
okay,
And
fine.
Keith Urban. I go
And
for
Keith
Keith
Urban.
Urban.
He has a really good friend that writes for Keith Urban, so
Oh, wow.
he's a great hookup. We went to Keith Urban and got really
That's
great
so
seats.
fun. Oh my gosh.
That's amazing.
So, and we're kind of country too. Because
Yeah,
of our-
it's
Love
a
country.
big palette.
well, Brad Paisley's dad's a good friend of the show, and
Wow.
and so
So many connections.
Wow.
yeah, so we're kind of country guys too, which I
Yeah.
never was before. And now I'm kind of like a Post Malone country fan. I don't even know what's going on with me.
Oh my goodness. I
Hey,
love the
yeah.
Post Malone country vibes right now.
What is going on with Post
Summertime
Malone
is the
being a
time for
country guy?
country.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
It's
I'm a
good.
New York
He's
hip hop
good.
guy, and he's got me loving country. I don't know what's going
Switching
on.
over. It's
Okay,
great.
okay. Now we're going. No, it's not. It's you first. So, your favorite snack food?
Ooh, I love mini Reese's Pieces. They're like the tiny little bags, and you feel like you could eat a billion of them.
Because you
But-
can.
Because you can.
Yes.
But
Yes.
then you're like, oh my goodness, I just ate this whole bag of tiny Reese's in 5 minutes.
But honestly, when you're dancing and working 70 hours a week, can you pretty much eat anything you want?
Kind of. You still have to be like aware because you don't want to like just eat a bunch of candy and
Right.
soda all the
Definitely
time.
gotta fuel your body
Gotta
in
fuel
the
your
right
body
way.
the right way.
So eat the right stuff, but
Yes.
you guys burn a lot of calories a week.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
this. Okay,
Yeah.
what's your favorite snack food, Abby?
I love True Fru. Specifically the frozen raspberries
Fru.
with dark chocolate.
Okay.
Those ones
Okay.
are fire.
Raspberry.
True
Is
fruit.
that
Yes.
is it sort of healthy?
I would count it as
Yeah.
healthy. I mean, it's
So it's
fruit.
kinda
It's
healthy.
fruit. I mean,
Okay.
and dark chocolate, like,
Okay.
Yeah,
kind of
okay.
healthy, I guess.
All right.
I'm thinking antioxidants with dark chocolate. And
Can't go wrong.
Okay.
Can't go
True
wrong.
Fru.
Yeah.
Very healthy. Okay. Now it's your turn.
Okay.
Favorite venue to perform: Marriott Center or Lavelle Edwards Stadium? Pick one of those two. And then if there's one outside of that that's been your favorite place you've ever performed, you can choose that as well. But
Okay. I would
Marriott
say,
or LES, and then favorite all time.
Okay, I would say Lavelle.
Okay.
Like, I just remember my first time out. It was such a surreal feeling, like running out there and seeing all these people. And also the view is gorgeous.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, it's just perfect. One side, there's the mountains and the temple. The other side, there's a gorgeous sunset. Like, you can't go wrong with Lavelle. And it's just massive and iconic. Like, I remember growing up watching the videos of the Cougarettes performing on the football field, and I was like, I want to be there one day, you know. And it's crazy that I am
There
there,
you are.
you know. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So Lavelle, but
Okay.
what, is there another place that you performed just like, oh man, this was cool?
Yeah. Actually, my freshman year, after my freshman year, we did an international tour in Europe, and we took some classes in Italy, and we got to perform on this like outdoor stage at the end of the week. After like all the classes we took, we learned some routines and brought some of our routines from our concert. And yeah, it was so cool.
In what city? Was it in Rome?
It was in Bari.
Oh,
yeah.
in Bari.
Yeah. So we got to perform in this outdoor stage with just like a bunch of like random, pedestrians walking by, stopping by to watch a show. It was really cool. So
Awesome.
that was definitely
very cool.
Very special.
Okay, Marriott or Lavelle Edwards?
I've got to say the Marriott. I love when we go and there's just the Cougar Club sitting right in front of you. And sometimes
fun.
you're like literally
In their face,
like
yes.
in their face.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool. Like, obviously, the Lavelle Edwards Stadium is unbeatable. Like, dancing there, dancing on the football field, and like the crowd, there's like 64,000 people.
So many.
But then it's like the Marriott Center, and it's like you're literally this
Yeah.
far away from
The
someone,
fans
and
are
I'm
on
like
top of you.
making an angry face at them.
Yes.
We're just this far away.
And you're closer to the music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
it's true.
a
Yeah, it's
venue
like
where it's-
right there.
Did the Cougs travel to the Alamo Bowl?
No, we
just
didn't.
the cheer squad did. That's right.
Yep.
You guys had finals and something else that week or something, I know.
Probably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we usually just travel for nationals.
just for nationals.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay. Number 5. And what about, did you have another venue that was just really unique and cool to you?
Honestly, just the cruise. That's so
Very unique.
ridiculously unbeatable that I will never probably ever get to do again. And that was just hands down one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Now it's Makeila first. Your favorite BYU moment?
Ooh. Honestly, like at BYU or just anything
It
involving
can be
BYU?
anything involving BYU, or maybe it's something that happened when you're on, but it can be anything associated with BYU. Just your favorite moment associated with BYU.
When I was on the cruise, I met Gifford Nielsen.
Ah.
Oh my goodness. It was like the most surreal moment I think I've ever had.
He sat right in that chair not
Did
that
he
long
really?
ago. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I feel so special. But he is just like the most genuinely kind human being and was just so amazing. There were some things that happened on the cruise to my family and it was just such like a stressful moment, and he made me feel and made my family just feel so calm and peaceful, and I was like, wow, like Heavenly Father is so real after this, because he was just hands down just so amazing.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's the best.
Yep, and he was also an unbelievable quarterback before you were born.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Long before you.
Yeah. Okay, Abby, what about you?
One thing
Favorite
for
moment?
me, it was actually this year when we were playing Utah.
Yeah.
I was at this watch party up in Heber City at one of my friend's parents' house, and we were driving back, and we were on, I don't remember what street it is, but it's like the street by some apartment complexes that are pretty well known. And we were driving, and it's like a literal parade. People are like outside their windows cheering. People are lining the street. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So I actually live by those apartment complexes. So we drive through this parade. We're like partying out the windows. We park at my house, and then we run back, and there's this massive crowd of people, and everyone that's like driving through that street, it's just like the biggest like celebration I have ever seen in my entire life. And like at one point it was actually pretty funny. The police came, and all of us were like, oh shoot, like we gotta go. But then like the police started partying,
start partying with you.
us. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was like incredible. Like I had never experienced anything like that before. And obviously like beating Utah was like such a win, right? But then having that like random after party that was just everyone in the street celebrating, like it was so fun. It was so fun.
When we left,
We were part of.
when we left our BYU TV studios that night after the post-game show, which and it was probably
This is an hour after the game.
midnight or one, but we could hear it.
Yeah.
From
like,
wherever it was going on.
massive.
What is going on?
I think there were
What was
actually like
happening?
several
You guys, I drove
going
from
on.
the broadcasting building next to the Marriott Center down the hill. And I got to that intersection where University, like the Canyon Road, crosses over that goes up to the diagonal.
Right, yeah.
There was a street party in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they were all over the street. I couldn't believe it. And then I
Yeah.
look over there, and Brian Logan's out there dancing with
Yeah,
them.
that's right.
Velo parked his
He
car
did go
and
dancing.
he was part of the street party. I just waved, but
Yeah.
it was very cool.
That was a
What
cool
a
one.
great
Yeah.
night.
All right.
Okay, so here's my 6th bonus question.
All right.
You guys missed Nationals last year for a cool opportunity to go on the cruise. But next year, you're back at Nationals.
Yeah.
And by my count, you're going for a 6-peat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is a 6-peat in the cards for the Cougarettes at Nationals this upcoming spring?
That is the goal.
That's the hopes.
Yes.
That's the goals.
Yes.
That's what we're working
We're
towards
definitely
this
going to
year.
put our heads down and work towards that, because that's always the hope. But honestly, for us, it's just about doing our best. But
Well, you have 26 national titles, so 28 sounds great.
right.
28's a good number.
Add a couple more.
Would not be mad about that.
We're so happy to have you here and to let Cougar Nation get to know you a little bit differently than other places. Abby and Makeila, have a wonderful summer, and we'll
Thank
see
you.
you. We'll see you at the stadium
We'll
in
see you
a
at the
Yes.
few
stadium.
weeks. It'll feel like a few weeks.
For those, Makayla's engaged, but you heard Abby very proudly announced she's single right now. So, and any handsome young men that have high character,
Right.
Yes.
high character,
My
because
expectations are high.
They have to come on this show and be interviewed by
Yep.
us.
Okay.
and Abby, you
I
can
gotta
tell
get
them.
your guys' approval.
You
first.
can tell them that, hey, if you're gonna if this is gonna get serious, you're gonna have to go on the show with Dave and Blaine, and they're gonna do a lot more than 5 questions.
background
I can
check.
tell you.
Like
Yep.
20 questions.
20 questions
Yes.
or more.
Yes.
Or more.
Hey,
Yep.
congratulations to both of you.
Thank you so much for
Fantastic.
having us.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
so
on
much
with
for
us, you
having
guys.
us. This was amazing.
You
Yeah.
bet.
Thanks.
We'll have you back. After you win next year, we
Yep.
want the two of you right back here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We'll be here.
Awesome. That's Abby and Makeila, two of the Cougarettes who've won more national titles on this campus than anyone on campus. And that includes the landscaping folks who sent these shirts over to us,
Yeah.
who just won their 10th.
They won 10.
Wow.
But 10 is awesome. 26 is a little bit better. I can do the math.
There's good, better, and best. This is best.
So they're doing
Best
that
in
too. A
class.
lot of good things going on.
Yeah.
So thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
And
you.
guys
good
just
to
have-
go.
the cool thing about this show is just cash. There's commercial free, so you get to like come in and come out.
I love it.
So,
All right.
Okay, see you guys. Michaela, see you at the
Thanks,
gym.
you guys. I'll
So-
see you at the gym.
That's right.
Let's do our
Thanks,
Cougar
guys.
Board. Thank you. Our Cougar Board question of the week. If you're not familiar with Cougar Board, it's the largest online community of BYU fans with thousands of posts every day. And this question comes from Billy Jack Blue. That's one of our favorite names.
I'm moving over here.
Blaine's moving over to the other spot. And here's the question from Billy Jack Blue. Any updates on the AD replacement search? Who do you consider the top 3 candidates to replace Tom Holmoe? Should we expect an in-house transition, or do you foresee a Kevin Young type hire? So things have been pretty quiet in regards to this, and Brian Santiago and Chad Lewis are certainly in the mix. We've heard Gabe Reed might be in the mix.
That's one that people haven't said a lot about.
That would be maybe the third candidate in the group that I would think is involved here. Steve Young on the stream. I don't know if Steve Young's got a few other things going on. There's a lot of talented folks to choose from, but it's a life. You know, you can't just pop in and do it and then pop out. It's all encompassing, as we've seen Tom do such a good job at being everywhere all the time.
Yeah, it's crazy to be able to and remember, running an athletic department these days is like running a $100 million business. It really is a challenging thing that you've got to do, and so you just have to wear so many hats. You have to be a businessman. You have to be the face of a program. You have to be a PR person. You have to talk to coaches, and you've got to be a psychologist. And and Tom's just done such a great job at all of that. It's just huge. Huge shoes to fill. But you mentioned Brian Santiago, Chad Lewis, Liz Darger are being considered for this. They're all internal. I feel like Gabe Reed's almost internal. He's a football player there and ran a big construction company, and then was off and just got back from being a mission president
and
in
just
Australia.
got released from the General Sunday School presidency.
Right. And so
we'll see.
And there's some other, like Craig Angelos, his name is, you look at it, some outside people. So Craig Angelos, who played baseball at BYU, he's been an athletic director. He was Hawaii's athletic director. He was Florida Atlantic University's athletic director. There's been talk about him. Mark Hill from Kentucky, who's been there 25 years as a deputy AD in the SEC, is somebody that's been talked about. Even Scott O'Neill's name's been thrown around. Scott O'Neill is the current CEO of Live Golf, and he's got ties back to university. So really at this point, I thought we'd have it named at this point.
Yeah, we know they've done their interviews, and it's different from other places, right? It'll come down to Elder Clark Gilbert as the commissioner of church education, presenting the name to the board of trustees, and then that's when the decision will be made. And so we anticipate that they have to do it, and they've been working on it. So we assume sooner than later.
Right.
But Tom's on the job through August. And we're in it's May 12th. So
yeah, and we should say that when Tom made the announcement, we were all expecting something to come really quickly, and then what we found out was that they weren't in a massive hurry because Tom was going to stay around, and it was in the middle of basketball's run, and they just thought, let's send out feelers to see who would be interested, and did kind of initial check-ins, but they didn't start the initial interview process where they did in-depth interviews for weeks and weeks after the announcement that Tom was retiring.
Yeah, they wanted basketball to finish.
But now they have gone deep into the process, and we expect that sometime soon, hopefully, we'll get an announcement. And there's, like, everybody we just named brings a different skill set and would do a great job.
And let's be honest, Brian has been running the department for a couple of years now. And so it's not like business isn't getting done.
Right.
It's just a matter of, hey, name the person or persons and move forward. Because you know what people don't like to do? They don't like to wait on stuff.
No, exactly.
They want to, hey, when's the coach? When's it? We're getting a coach. When is that? When is that? And it becomes constant. And an athletic director, there's just been a few in our lifetime.
Right. And some people were thinking, well, they're not going to name a new basketball coach till the new AD. Well, that didn't happen.
Nope.
The women's basketball coach got named.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to think, there's no coaching openings right now that are pending being filled. So
we'll keep you posted on that, but thank you for that question. Wise Guys is encouraging support for our friend Carlos Iglesias and the group with the Mali Wellness Foundation. They're looking to raise $5,000 to support their Africa Elite basketball camps in Mali and Senegal. Keita is already down there. So far, they're halfway to their goal. If you can offer some help, go to MaliWellnessFoundation.org, scroll down to sports, and make a donation. For more on the camps, you can listen to our Wise Guys interview with Carlos at wiseguys.com. And with that said, let's bring in our heavy hitter here. Our next guest is a professor of American literature in the English department at BYU. He earned his bachelor's and master's at BYU and his doctorate at Brown. Been teaching on campus since 2002. Also a former defensive back for the BYU football team, 1992 and 1993. Our pleasure to welcome Frank Christianson to the Wise Guys. Thanks for being here.
This is so intimidating.
Is it really?
Look at us. Professor on Wise Guys. Yeah, I don't know.
A lot of people never thought that would ever happen. That mostly know us. Like, really, you're bringing professors in, and yes, we are.
Yeah, and you're not the first. You're not the first,
and won't be the last.
And how about those Cougarettes that were just
phenomenal?
Here? Unbelievable.
That kind of track record is insane. That kind of dominance over that span of time.
Yeah, and it's very competitive, and they compete against like SEC and Big Ten. Like they're literally at the very, very top. I would say they're like the Alabama, but Alabama's tapered off a little bit in football. But they would be the equivalent of Alabama in college football when they're on their run of dominance, or Georgia. That's what BYU is in collegiate dance. It's crazy.
So you're here because you've got your own story.
That's right.
And a lot of the students that take your classes might not know it.
Yeah.
But they're going to find out about it tonight. And I let's start with this question. When's the last time someone other than myself has asked you to try and what it was like to try and tackle Marshall Faulk in his prime in college? When's the last time you've been asked that question?
I literally don't remember.
So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Decades.
But tonight's the night we revisit that. What was it like?
So I only have 2 flashes of memory. This is just in prep for meeting with you guys. I was going back and looking at stats and some film, and the 2 distinct memories I have from that game are, one, him coming through the line, and just the line like the parting the Red Sea, just opening up with me sitting there, about 8 yards deep.
And you could just see him plainly, nobody between you and him.
And given how quick he was, the thing you would have expected is that he would have tried to sidestep me.
Yeah.
But he hit me head on. I should have said it differently. I should have said I hit him head on.
Yeah, let's go with that.
But it was the first and only stinger I've ever had, like a true pinch nerve.
From Marshall Faulk.
From Marshall Faulk, just fired down my whole left side and kind of stunned me. Yeah.
Did you take him down or did he keep going?
You know what? I think I then had help. Taking
you slowed him down enough that your buddies could get there.
Piled on.
Yeah.
And then the other memory is that long run of his. And, it was other side of the field for me, so I never really had a chance. But even my teammate Dewey Gray chased him, who was one of the fastest guys on our team, and just getting
we've had Dewey a few times on here, and we've talked to him about some of those games, and he's just like, that dude was so much faster than even I expected.
Yeah.
That he would just run away from you.
And you can watch him on YouTube.
Yeah,
All those highlights, BYU, San Diego State.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, there's a 3-year stretch there. Like if we go back to that time, San Diego State and BYU were just two of the more explosive offenses in the country and kind of setting the tone. And some classic battles. 91, 52-52. I called that game down in San Diego. That was nuts. That gave me a headache calling that game. My wife had a spot. She never wanted to do that ever again.
Yeah.
92, San Diego State won in Provo, 45-38. 93, BYU won in San Diego, 45-44. What was it about those two programs back then that created these just classics?
Yeah, I don't know. We had, we had a long tradition of heavy firepower. And even when we were running through quarterbacks like they were, we had that one season, I guess it was 92, where
we went through 4 or 5.
Four starters.
Right. Yeah.
And people kept getting hurt. And, but we still, I think, our scheme was such that whoever stepped in could still pull off some amazing things. But I also kind of felt like, and this is probably, I don't know what this is, but I kind of felt like some of the other teams had started to catch up with us and kind of figure things out, maybe even adopt some of our schemes.
Right.
And we really hit some amazing offensive programs in those couple of years, and they really, just some serious shootouts.
Yeah. But no, fun times.
Fun for the fans.
To watch.
Fun to call. Yeah.
Defensive coordinator, maybe not so much.
Right. Ken Schmidt.
Yeah, exactly.
You faced Faulk, and let's talk about him for a little bit, in 92 and 93. In 92, he ran for 315 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was at LaVell Edwards Stadium.
Yeah.
How did he do that? You guys were a good defense. How does a guy come in and run for over 300?
I don't think, at least I never saw anybody with that kind of speed, in pads speed. So I don't know what his 40 time was. But it's a whole different thing, right, when you're fully layered up.
Yeah.
And I think if all they needed to do was to give him a little bit of momentum, if he could get 4 yards, he was already at full speed. And so once he had any kind of open field, it was incredibly difficult to track him down. And in fact, if you go back and look at the film, people frequently are just literally taking the wrong angle,
Is it just because his acceleration is so good? Or
Yeah. He probably could have been an Olympic sprinter. I don't know.
Man. So we fast forward a year to 93 in November. You guys beat San Diego State 45-44 down at Jack Murphy at the time, before it was Qualcomm. You had 3 tackles in that game from your safety spot. They gave the ball to Marshall 32 times. He had 252 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 71-yarder, which might have been the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, is he the best college back you've ever seen?
Oh, by far. Yeah.
Really?
I think I mentioned today we played against Jerome Bettis at Notre Dame, but for what a running back can do, like as a lethal weapon, he's the one who had the best tools, and he was amazing.
BYU professor and former safety Frank Christianson is on the Wise Guys, presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. In those 2 seasons you mentioned, you played Notre Dame twice. Bettis was on the field for one of those.
He was called the bus, right?
The bus.
What was he like to try and tackle?
So my one memory of that game, his senior year was 92 in South Bend, and we kind of stuffed him up that first half, and in fact, I almost made a singular contribution to the outcome of that game. We'd slowed him down. He'd tried to run through the line, and I hit him as he was being slowed up by like 5 or 6 other guys, and kind of kinked his neck. I was afraid it was almost a late hit. I would get called on it.
Yeah.
But he had to come out of the game. And I thought I had put Jerome Bettis out.
You had sidelined
if you put him out and you won, you would have been the reason.
I would have been a hero. Right?
But he came back.
He came back with a vengeance. I think I think he didn't have a huge game. It was over 100 yards maybe, but most of that was in the second half, and he was making up for lost time.
So you made him mad?
But yeah, he just, you know,
He poked
strong.
the bus or the bear, whichever you want to call it.
And then the bus came back.
Yeah, and still relatively fast for his size, you know, for how big he was.
And then he went off to be a pro, and he was a stud.
Yeah.
And as you watched his career and knowing you had that moment of head-to-head, did it get pretty cool for you to think about?
It was. I mean, he was a legend at Pittsburgh. And, that was a fun memory for me.
During your 2 years at BYU, out on the field, 67 tackles, 44 solo, had an interception against Hawaii. How much fun was that to be out there playing with your brothers in that environment?
It was great. I mean, especially here, home games were, amazing. Just the roar of the crowd and just to be on that field is such a beautiful environment. It's fun to even now have, like, when the games are nationally televised and the announcers, ESPN or whoever comes in, how in awe they are of the setting. And then you get those overviews of the stadium against the backdrop of the mountains. And it really is just a spectacular, beautiful game.
Well, you played against some pretty big programs: Ohio State, Notre Dame twice, UCLA, Penn State. Today, BYU plays 10 power conference opponents in the same season. From your position now as a professor, since 2022, to watch all these, since 2002, to watch all these changes take place on a field where you used to play, is it mind-boggling?
It is, yeah. It's hard to imagine, we're talking whack.
Yeah.
It's the days that I was playing, and this is a far cry. This is top tier, and it's incredible. I mean, what happened last season? Who would have guessed? That we would step up and perform that well. But yeah, it's really inspiring to see how the program's evolved.
When you watch it from your chair now, and you think back all the way back to 92, I have to think back another 10 years before that, or almost. What do you think's changed the most for BYU as a program since that time to now?
That's a really good question, because a lot of things still seem really familiar. Just as I watch the players out there, it's not like the individual athletes have been transformed into like superhuman or anything. It's still kind of the same body types and sizes and speeds and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the one thing that's been amazing to watch is just, and maybe it's just a function of the years that I was on the field, but in moments where the one game I caught in person this last season was Oklahoma State.
Oh, yeah.
And where you think, there's no way that we're going to pull this off. Just the kind of resilience, the kind of, intestinal fortitude that you see in this most recent team. It's kind of, you kind of almost grow to expect miracles,
I guess it's a good thing when the team expects miracles, right?
Yeah.
That mindset's hard to come by. And you played on some teams that expected to win. How big is that as a player? How big is that for a team to just believe that they belong there and they can win? And how much does that contribute to the winning formula?
Clearly it makes a huge difference. And mindset, you think about, especially with defenses, I mean, you can be a defense that plays defensively, or you can be a defense that, attacks. And that's really is a function of mindset. I mean, you need the athleticism and the preparation to be able to have that mindset. But, I think you compare 93 to this last year, we were like the lowest turnover off defense, maybe in the NCAA that year. Yeah. And this last year, turnovers. You literally expected a couple of turnovers a game.
Right.
And you got to chalk that up to mindset to some degree. Right?
Speaking of how you think and how you thought, at any time during your playing days, did you ever see yourself as a humanities professor with 3 degrees, including a specific focus of literature of the American West while you're trying to tackle Marshall Faulk?
Yeah. I was an English major, and I knew this life. My dad was a college professor, taught here at BYU. And so, I love the subject matter, but there weren't a lot of us on the team. Actually, Tom Young was an English major, I think. Mm-hmm. And there have been others. Kalani was an English major.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, and through the years, I've had some players come through my classroom. Johnny Harling was an English major, right? So, but no, I wasn't necessarily thinking at that point. I was probably thinking more law school, like some of my older siblings.
A lot of English majors, say this is a great preparation for the writing and the reading that I need to be able to do.
Like my older brother, Jordan Christensen, I think you might know.
I know Jordan, yeah.
Yeah, was an English major and then went on to law school. So I had older siblings who'd all followed that path.
Yeah.
But I decided to go the academic route.
So you go, how did you finally get on that path? How do you make that transition from, hey, I'm playing football, I'm an English major, to, hey, not only am I going to pursue this thing, I'm going Ivy League route, I want to be a professor, this is what I want to do. When did that come into your mind, and how did you pursue that?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that, as I got to the end of my undergrad career, I was keeping my options open. So I took the GMAT, the LSAT, the GRE, and was still thinking about law school and even business school. But what I thought was, and you talk about the specific route, that played a big part. I thought if I can get into a program, I was interested in pursuing academics. If I can get into the program that's going to optimize my chances of getting a tenure track position later, then I'll do it. If I don't, then I won't. And Brown was my top choice, and that worked out. And so I kept on that path.
What was that like because you're competing at a very high level in football, and now academically you're competing at the highest level at Brown University is very competitive. What was that like?
Well, one thing it unfortunately didn't help, and I realized this later when I had two younger brothers who both played for the U, played football, twins, and they both ended up going on to med school. But their football background was a real asset, and some of those professional degrees, whether you're going to business or medicine, that kind of background makes a difference. When you're applying to PhDs in English, they're not so interested that you played Division
They don't think that's cool or anything like that. No.
So,
did they almost act like, okay, well, that might have been a waste of time to occupy your time. But in spite of that, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, actually, I just didn't even bring it up.
Oh, see, you were smart.
Yeah. So, it was all about just academic performance and those standardized tests, and then really the luck of the draw. Because in the end, there were only 8 people in my entering class, and it's just a really small cohort, and that's how it works.
Our pleasure to have former BYU safety and current professor Frank Christianson on the Wise Guys, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. Any noticeable differences between BYU students today compared to when you first started teaching in 2002?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, this is the Wise Guys.
Right.
What have you noticed?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that's not different is that they are just as smart as they've always been, and that means they're really smart, right? Yeah. BYU students have always been incredibly bright and prepared, right, for the most part for academic work at this level. But things are changing. I mean, there's no getting away from the fact that our brains are literally changing in the digital world. Right. So I teach now an intro to the major course that focuses almost entirely on the neuroscience of reading. And, we are hardwired for language. It's part of our evolutionary heritage. Right. But reading and writing are not. That's something we've kind of just come up with in the last 6,000 years as human beings. We have to repurpose a bunch of different neuronal clusters to accomplish that task. And the more time we spend on screens, the more we are taught to read fast and shallow. We're actually encountering more language, more words than we ever have, but it's fast and shallow.
Like the USA Today when it came online.
Yeah.
Shorter, a little more pizzazz, and you can get through it.
Yeah, instead of slow and deep. And so that's literally changing how our brains work. And so ultimately the message of that class is how English majors are going to save the world, because we're going
Because you're going to teach people
of course.
this capacity. Yeah.
It's interesting because Dave and I have spent our whole careers in television, and television, the entire time we've been in it, has been a series of sound bites that you put together to put a show together.
Yeah.
A long piece might be 3 minutes, and so we work in sound bites. And then we wanted to do this show, and we thought, will there be an appetite for a show where we actually get people on and we talk to them for a long time, and we go deep and we discuss topics and people can get to know them. And to our pleasant surprise, there's a lot of people out there that still have an interest in going deeper.
Yeah.
Are you finding that as you try to teach this, that there are those that are interested in doing that? And could there be a shift, or is it just so moving so quickly in the other direction that there's no chance?
Well, I think you're right, though. There is a benefit to the new media environment in terms of long form conversation. That's something else that's emerged that's I think valuable. I don't think it's inevitable that we're going to just entirely lose this cognitive capacity and just essentially look like the people on that spaceship in Wall-E, where we're just everything is kind of just fed to us. But it is going to take work to preserve the ability to read, like hard things. We can do hard things. We can read hard things.
Like Isaiah.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Well, actually, you make an interesting point in terms of our students' readiness. Because of that tradition of engagement with Scripture, they do tend to come better equipped, I think, than students across the country to read and annotate and think, right, and reflect on what they're reading. Yeah. So we try to capitalize on that.
Have you taken a dive deep enough in, like, people will say, oh, this person has such a great knack for language and reading and comprehension because their mom and dad started to read to them when they were tiny. Yeah. And then they fell in love with books when they were really, really young. And then they never kind of got out of that habit. Is there an advantage to that? So folks, parents that are watching from home, to starting them and reading to them and getting them to love reading, does that correlate to success academically and out in whatever they do after that?
It makes a huge difference. In fact, I think the magic word used there is habit. Reading, in the way I'm thinking about it in terms of a cognitive experience, is a habit of mind. It's a habit you can cultivate. In fact, for me, it's less now in a class like that about the quantity of reading. In fact, we've cut down on the reading and just the experience of reading, of cutting out all distractions and using the book as like a yoga mat. It's just the occasion to help your mind enter this kind of deeper, meditative, reflective space. And so cultivating that habit of mind early on makes a massive difference. Yeah.
All right, from your level of expertise, if you have a teenage son or daughter who's just into the scrolling, or college kid into the scrolling, or even a middle-aged person who's constantly into this, can you get lost in scrolling all day?
This is what we do.
Yeah.
My thumb's got too much.
How do you get out of it? How important is it to get out of it?
It's really important. Yeah. I mean, that is the training system. That's a kind of cognitive training. It's the algorithm seeking us. We do a lot with information literacy too. And that whole question of, do you seek information or do you encounter it? And the answer is, for most of us, most of the time, we're encountering information.
Whatever comes their way.
Right.
Which means we are being sought. Right, by an algorithm to present us with information, good, bad, irrelevant mostly, right? A lot of it's bad information, though, misinformation. And so it's actually really important to recognize what the scrolling is doing to our brains. And I'm not saying never scroll, but it has to be countered with these other kinds of reading and engagement with information that is essentially harder to do, right? It doesn't supply these microscopic dopamine hits that scrolling does. It's about, persisting with words that maybe aren't giving you a easy or simple message.
Well, especially if you're scrolling Seinfeld clips because they're all funny.
Yeah.
And you know them all, and you can quote them. And it's like,
basically, we're all getting worked by the system, right?
Yeah, we
need to work the system to our benefit, right?
Exactly.
So I love that.
To swing back, and before we hit you up with 5 questions, then would you say the difference between today's BYU student and and when you started, it's not necessarily how smart they are, because they're all smart. Is it the attention span?
It's the span of attention. It's the quality of attention. And when I describe that, it's actually, and you already acknowledged this, that's us too.
Yeah.
Right. So we've all gone through this kind of epigenetic shift in the last 15 years, I'd say, especially. So we can all relate to each other.
Sure.
When I'm talking to my students about these challenges, I'm describing myself and then projecting it on them, and they're nodding their heads and recognizing.
Okay, so when you're talking to them, they're going, you're right. I
Yep.
do that. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they know how hard it is to just slow down and read and think deep without distraction. So how did you put it again? Attention. Yeah. That's back to this quality of attention. I could even recommend a book called Reader Come Home, The Reading Brain in the Digital Age. It's essentially a discussion about how do we retrain our attentions using books.
This is fascinating. We could do like shows on this, which would be really, really fun.
How about you tell your
topic.
students to get on YouTube and watch your highlights?
Yes.
I'll just
Tell
tell
them
you
to do
go,
that.
what?
And take it deep. They can come watch this, and they can listen to you for quite a period of time here.
Yeah.
Let's go back to football for just a minute, because I know you follow it closely and you look at it from an analytical perspective and from having been on the field. So, a remarkable season this last year. So what do you expect out of this team this fall? Do they have a repeat performance? Can they improve on this performance?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Do you follow the Wrexham AFC story? The little soccer team that Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, yes.
Rob
I just saw an
McElhenney
ad
bought.
for it last night. Yeah.
Because they got that documentary that goes
the
with it.
documentary's coming.
And they just, each succeeding years, they move up through the English leagues, keep exceeding expectations. But with each new season, they've already, done more than anyone expected. So the next season, everybody tempers their expectations, so they can't possibly do as well as they did the last time. And in each case, they've done better. But so, of course, the natural thing would be to say 8 or 9 wins, right? Yeah. Would be great.
Regress to the mean.
Yeah, right. Consolidate.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, though. I mean, I think there's reason to be optimistic that they could repeat and do as well. So many of those games could have gone either way last year. That's the thing. It's just hard to know, But I'm excited for the defense. I think there's some really interesting players. What's his name? There's the safety who had
Tanner. Do you like watching Tanner Wall?
Tanner, yeah, well, I identify with him. In fact,
that's what I'm saying, because he reminds me of you a little bit, in that Tanner's a first-team academic All-American.
Yeah.
He's brilliant,
Yeah.
and yet he plays with aggression, and he's always where he's supposed to be. He's top-graded guy back there, never makes a mistake, gets everybody else lined up.
Yeah.
That you relate to him, right?
Very much so, yeah. And I looked at his stats. I couldn't remember my stats. So my 93 season looked almost identical. He had 2 more picks than I did, but the tackles and breakups and those kinds of things were almost the same. I really like his game. And I assume he's top of the depth chart right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Top of the depth chart, captain, preseason all-conference probably,
The only other thing is that the D-line, every DB will say this, if you've got a D-line that can penetrate and contain, it makes all the difference, right? It's everything.
All right, before we hit you with 5 questions, your interception against Hawaii.
Yeah.
A lot of times we remember stuff from our youth. Do you remember that play? What happened?
I remember really well.
What happened?
It was a Hail Mary. So, and I think I just happened to be the tallest guy in the bunch, because there were like 6 of us that went up for it.
Yeah.
And it somehow ended up in my gut. But it's funny, I found that just this last year and clipped the little piece out of it and texted it to my kids.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of funny how I try to do like a little dance afterwards. But the game was over at that point, so I don't think anybody noticed. I don't know if the announcer even said that there was a
Did
pick.
he even acknowledge it?
Yeah, it's like I think people were just getting up out of their seats and heading home.
Pick. Whatever.
But I was happy to stand there on the
fun.
field. And
Hey,
celebrate.
that links you to the program forever.
Yeah.
Having been out there and chased it around, made plays. That's awesome.
Right.
It's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Forever linked. Hey, one other guy for you to watch for everybody else to watch for. We had Chase Roberts on last week.
Yeah.
And Chase was talking about the new receiver, Tiger Bachmeier.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, what's your first impression? He goes, no, this guy's smart. And then we looked at him, he goes like, no, crazy smart. And he goes, he graduated in 2.5 years from Stanford with a major in computer science.
Oh, wow.
And he says, we go through something and we walk out and he's teaching it. Like he already knows it. So it's another guy to kind of relate to. You're like, oh, here's a really smart wide receiver that's also really athletic. So on both sides of the ball, we got a couple of geniuses over there. So it's kind of fun.
That's great.
We'll have to watch for him this next year.
One of the guys to watch for, I hope, is my nephew, Rowan Ray, who made the team as a receiver.
Rowan Ray.
Hopefully
Ray.
he'll get some playing
That's right.
time.
Cool.
So.
5 questions for Frank Christianson, who hit Jerome Bettis so hard knocked him out of the game. Is presented by StrategySquare.co. You ready?
Okay, your favorite sports movie?
We just lost Gene Hackman, so I've got to say Hoosiers.
Hoosiers is a classic.
Yeah, that's a classic.
You, me, and Marie Osmond.
Yeah, Marie Osmond's favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
when she
That's
came on the
cool.
show, she
Yeah.
did not hesitate. Of course, Marie married a basketball player, so
That's right. That's right.
Your favorite singer or band?
I'm not a super fanboy, but of anybody in particular. But since I just saw Jack White in Salt Lake this week, I got to say Jack White.
Jack White.
Or earlier, the White Stripes. Yeah.
Very nice.
All right.
So that fits. That's kind of his genre.
Yeah, that's good.
Your favorite breakfast cereal?
Raisin Nut Bran. Yeah.
You know what? I think I might have had Raisin Nut Bran the other day, and I actually liked it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Surprisingly, his is Captain Crunch without crunch berries, which makes no sense to me.
Had some this morning.
Yeah, and mine is Cinnamon Life.
Raisin Nut Bran. Is that what it's called? Raisin Nut Bran?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
All right.
That sounds healthy.
It does.
Your favorite ice cream?
Anything with chocolate, peanut butter chocolate.
Chocolate and peanut
Yeah.
butter. That's like the Reese's peanut cup.
Or the what's the Chubby Hubby?
Is that
Ben and Jerry's? The
Ben and Jerry's.
peanut
Ben
butter
and
filled
Jerry's?
pretzel
Yeah.
chocolate.
Do you ever go to the creamery here?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have some good stuff
Yeah.
over there. So
Okay. All right.
why is Lavelle Edwards just plain old vanilla?
That's how we rolled.
That must have been his favorite. Yeah.
It was
Put a little topping
But
on that.
Isn't that
It's-
so like? Yes, that's Coach.
Yeah.
Vanilla is his flavor. Everybody else has all these crazy ones named after him, and Lavelle's is vanilla.
I could just imagine him deadpanning
Yeah.
vanilla.
Yeah.
That's his
Yeah.
favorite. So, okay, your favorite BYU moment?
Probably just, my dad is a professor here. I've been here for 22 years, and each of my 3 girls have come through BYU. So just, I think the countless times that I've been able to just have them in my office or go to lunch with them on campus, it kind of, made the whole journey sort of worth it for me.
So it's a series of moments then with
Yeah.
with the third generation being here on
Just kind
campus.
of the legacy. Yeah.
What's your dad's name?
Jim Christensen, James R. Christensen.
James. All right.
Yeah.
He passed away in 1989, but he was a faculty here. Yeah.
Okay. So he set the path. And
Yeah.
you followed it, and then your kids came through. Did they take any of your classes?
We did directed study abroad, so they kind of had no choice but to sit in on my classes when we were in London.
Yeah. How many children?
3.
You have 3, and all BYU.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're both 100%ers.
Yeah.
All 5 of mine
I'm
graduated.
0%er.
That's
I've got 4
He
Aggie
sends them to
graduates,
Logan.
and I got another one.
What's going on with this guy?
That's right.
The junior now.
Every one
Yeah.
of them to Logan.
Yeah.
But there's still
Sent
BYU
my money
fans.
there too.
There's still BYU fans.
Oh,
though.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went 5 for 5.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Hey, thanks for coming in. And
Thanks, Dave. Yeah,
what
Blaine. It's great,
Great
to meet
to
you
have you
guys.
on.
Yeah.
we want your students who take your class and learn the finer things about literature to know that you tackled Marshall Faulk.
Yeah.
And got
Yeah.
a stinger from him. Not everyone can say that.
Yeah. The only way it's come up in recent years is that they've started to notice this finger of mine. That
Well, show that finger.
Did you do that in football?
and I did this in football my senior year. I had a little plastic cast, but we never got it fixed after that. And they indelicately ask about it. And that's
How'd you
where
do that?
I finally
Well, why
said,
your fingers pointed the other way? I would ask that question
Have
too.
you seen the
That's
movie
when the football comes out.
Remember the Titans?
Yeah.
And at the end, Coach is it Coach Boone that Denzel Washington plays?
Yeah.
He raises the football up, and he has a crazy broken finger. Looks
Okay.
just
So
like that one.
when did you sustain that injury?
It was like 3rd game of the season, and we put this little half cast on that I just played with the rest of the season.
Just played.
Did you hit a helmet or what happened?
Yeah, I just jammed it against a face mask. And, yeah.
But it's still the ligament's still completely stretched out. They never fixed it.
As long as that doesn't hurt, that's awesome.
Well, they told me they could fix it. They said we'll either cut it off or we'll fuse it so it'll never bend again. So those are my two options. But
can you grab with it still?
Yeah, I can still.
So it's just the joints got a little destroyed, and then that ligament is completely lax. But if it works, why do anything,
loose, right? Just looks funny.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter.
It is a conversation starter.
That's fun.
That's exactly right.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much.
it.
Frank Christianson, 1992, 1993, taking on Marshall Faulk.
Jerome
Bettis and playing safety with Dewey Gray back there in the secondary for the Cougars and deep into his educational
when we talk
career
to Dewey,
as a
he'll be so
professor.
pleased that you came on because he's a regular on the show. Yeah, he'll love it.
All right, give your students our best, would you? That's awesome. Been teaching at BYU since 2002 and still going strong in the English department. American literature is his area of expertise. And I love the stories of trying to tackle one of the greatest players to ever come through Lavelle Edwards Stadium. And
I don't know which is like. It was interesting that the first one he recalled was when Marshall ran straight at him and didn't try to make him miss.
Because he's ready to juke.
Yeah, I feel like Marshall, you kind of come up and you break down and then you sometimes whiff. Jerome Bettis, that's a whole different story.
It's a bus.
You're just stepping in front of a bus and hoping your buddies get there.
How about he hit the bus so hard the bus had to go to the
come
shop
out of the game.
But
had to get transmission repaired.
Then the bus came back.
Yeah, then the bus did in the second half.
In the end, the bus won. Great interview with Frank Christianson. Let's get you up to speed on some campus notes here on the Wise Guys. Baseball, 24-25 overall, 8-19 on the season in the Big 12. Kansas beat them 2-1 in that series in Lawrence. Rallied for 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning on Saturday. That was really a gut punch to win that one 7-6 to take the series 2-1. Earlier in the week, BYU routed Wichita State on the road 9-2. This week, the Cougars host the Utes tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Mountain Time at Miller Park. That's a non-conference game.
And is that because it was scheduled before? Yeah, so it doesn't count as a
And they all try to get in a certain number of games.
Right.
This was a little weird because it's the last week of the regular season, and they're in a dogfight with Utah for the last playoff spot. Mm-hmm. They're playing each other, and by the way, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
And then Texas Tech comes to town Thursday, Friday, and
Saturday.
Saturday.
The question, do these two teams rest their pitchers because the game doesn't matter?
Early week pitchers games you get the other pitchers anyway. They're not playing their starters.
And BYU's had good success in these early week games, right?
Yeah, they won 5 in a row?
Yeah.
5 in a row early in the week. Later in the week it's been a little bit of a problem. So here's the situation. All these games this week on ESPN Plus. Gary and I will have that, and then Greg's got the call on the radio on BYU Radio. But 12 teams go to the Big 12 tournament, and 3 teams are fighting for the last spot. Mm-hmm. BYU, Central Florida are both 8-19. Utah 7-20. They're not going to play the same number of games because they don't make up weather outs, like snow outs, rain outs, smoke outs. And so then it goes by percentages. But here they are, these 3 teams. And then each of them have a key series that impacts everybody, the other 2. Yeah. Starting Thursday.
So Texas Tech's at BYU. You mentioned that. Thursday through Saturday. And then Thursday's games at 8 on ESPN Plus. TCU's at Utah Thursday through Saturday.
And TCU could sweep Utah.
Right. Thursday's games at 8 as well, and that's on ESPN Plus Thursday. Yeah. Central Florida's at Baylor. And that's at 6 o'clock on Thursday. So they've got their Thursday through series through Saturday series there. Then Central Florida and Utah. The problem is they both hold the tiebreaker against BYU. Yeah, that's the problem.
It's just it's a tough spot. BYU's earned this tough spot by how they played. So if there's a 2-way tiebreaker, BYU loses to both.
Right.
If there's a 3-way tie, which I don't even think is mathematically possible, but the way the Big 12 said it, if there was somehow a 3-way tie, BYU gets the tiebreaker because they beat West Virginia, who's in first place. And West Virginia swept UCF.
Do you remember when BYU beat West Virginia? We all went, whoa.
Yeah.
What just happened?
Here was the painful thing about that. In the rubber match on Saturday, BYU led by 8 to take the series from West Virginia. And West Virginia came back and beat them by 3. That loss looms large this week.
And had a chance to put them alone in 12th place.
Yeah.
Right?
By the way, Clint says greetings from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico.
Oh, my goodness.
Clint, we hate you right now, but we appreciate you on the
Dave and I have a friend that occasionally takes us to Cabo San Lucas, Stan Ricks. And,
Takes you more than me.
well, and Dave didn't get to go the last time. And it's because I don't know what Dave did.
I don't know, but whatever it is, I apologize.
So
let's just make sure
I think we're both back in next trip.
there.
Next trip. So
The Big 12 baseball tournament is May 21st, so next week. So that's coming up. So this is it. This is the week for
and
BYU.
it's in Globe Life in Arlington, right?
Yeah,
It's pretty
where
cool.
the Rangers
Yeah.
play.
Yep.
The Cougs, whatever, no
Didn't
matter
you
what
and
happens
I go
tomorrow
watch
night.
Wally join? Did you go with me when we went and watched Wally Joyner play? You didn't go to that one. Went and watched Wally play against the Rangers in Arlington. That was cool.
I haven't
You
been
should
in
have
that ballpark. So what really needs to happen is BYU needs to win a series.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the last series, and Texas Tech, they're not world beaters, but Texas Tech is better than BYU. So BYU's got to rise
Step
up and beat them, and then hope TCU does to Utah what everyone would expect TCU to
Right.
do that. And then hoping that Baylor somehow beats UCF, or if not, it's all ending this week.
Yep, that's right.
So that's the story with baseball.
Let's go to softball. 32-17, 13-11 in league. Big 12 championship recap. Wednesday, number 6 BYU, 6 seed BYU beat 11 seed Houston 4-0. Brittingham 21st home run.
Yeah, they were great that night.
Thursday, number 3 Iowa State beat BYU 4-2 in the quarterfinals.
They weren't great that night.
Yeah, they weren't great that night. 4-2 in the quarters. And so Aliyah Agbayani was named to the all-tournament team. So
She was great. Lily Owens, Lindy Milkowski, and Ilova Brittingham, first team all Big 12. Put 3 on the first squad.
yeah, Brittingham's first was the Big 12 freshman of the year.
Yeah,
So
the problem
baseball
is-
and softball both had the Big 12 freshman of the year. I'm sorry, basketball.
Basketball,
Women's basketball and softball.
So when the tournament was announced last night, BYU was one of the first 4 out
Yeah, that's
for
the
the
problem.
second straight year.
Yeah.
So they're not going. Last year they went 31-23, 11-16 in the Big 12. This year 32-17, 13-11. They're better this year.
Right.
Than they were last year, but they've got to go bolster their non-conference.
So that you would get an automatic bid. Right.
So they took 5. If they'd have taken 6, BYU would have been the 6th
Yep.
from the Big 12. As it stands, softball's over.
Yep. So women's basketball news. So BYU sophomore to be Delaney Gibb has been selected to the Canadian Senior Women's National Team athlete pool. So she'll attend the national team training camp and will play for Canada's under-23 team leading up to the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup in Germany.
That's awesome. That's awesome for her.
Yeah, and she is awesome. She's amazing. The reigning Big 12 Freshman of the Year. She said her biggest dream is to play for Team Canada in the Olympics. So, and I'll tell you what, she's on her way. She's got a shot. She is good enough, and she's disciplined, and she could absolutely play for Team Canada in the Olympics.
Men's golf, the NCAA regionals are underway in Reno. They had high winds over there today. So BYU was just getting started as we went on the air. I don't know if they're going to get their whole round in. Nevada's an hour earlier, so they get a little more sunshine. We'll keep you posted on that. They'll play today through Wednesday. The NCAA championships coming up May 23rd through the 28th in Carlsbad, California.
Women's golf, BYU finished the Charlottesville Regional in 8th place, 3 spots out of advancing to the NCAA championships. So they're done.
Yeah, track and field, the men are ranked number 6. The women are ranked number 5. This week is the Big 12 championships, Wednesday through Saturday in Lawrence, Kansas. They got a shot again. They got a
here's the
shot to
interesting
win
thing.
another one.
And when Ed Isone came on and talked to us, it's like the Big 12 championships are important, but not as important as nationals, as the NCAA. And so they sometimes move people around to get more people qualified to set themselves up for nationals. So it's not like they obviously would like to go win the Big 12 championship, both men and women, but that's the ultimate goal, is to put as many people in nationals as they possibly can.
And they've been setting records left and right.
And how do you remember? It doesn't seem that long ago, a month or so ago, that the men were ranked like 9th and the women were 23rd.
Yeah, this
And now look at them
charging in.
Yeah, they've come in hot here at the right time of the year.
BYU grad Ryan Smith revealed the official name of his NHL franchise, the Utah Mammoth. The colors, salt white, mountain blue, and rock black. And so they finally got their name, logo, and colors. So the NHL settling. It's no more the Utah Hockey Club. They're the Utah Mammoth. And
unlike the Jazz, they lucked out. They lucked out, and they have the highest pick they could possibly have based on the lottery, and are the number 4 pick in the draft.
a lot of depressed Jazz fans tonight. On this day, May 12th, let's we'll do birthdays.
Yeah, start with birthdays.
No, we'll do that in a minute.
Okay.
On this day, May 12th, 1890, Louisiana legalizes prize fighting. Nice job, Louisiana.
Yeah, way to go. And then Nevada became the state of it. We're really happy.
I don't know how many fights were going down in 1890 in Louisiana, but some were.
They legalized it. 1926, the first flight over the North Pole was completed by a Norwegian explorer.
We don't know if he saw the workshop. Don't know what he saw.
I think it's like you can only see it if you believe.
I think maybe I don't know if he was a believer. It's not in the account.
Nope.
1955, Sam Toothpick Jones becomes the first African-American to pitch a no-hitter, leading the Cubs to a 4-0 victory over the Pirates at Wrigley Field.
Do you think Sam was thin?
It feels like it.
Because his name was Toothpick. I think he was probably thin.
Feels like
Unless he always had toothpick in his tooth.
That's possible.
But I have a feeling he was a thin guy that could really throw it. So 1958, the U.S. and Canada formed the North American Air Defense Command, NORAD.
On this day,
Yeah.
in 1965, the Rolling Stones recorded "I Can't Get No Satisfaction."
I can't get no.
That worked out for him.
1970, Ernie Banks hit his 500th home run.
One of the great Cubs of all
Yeah,
time.
that's your guy.
Hey, and on this day, 1986, Top Gun was released in theaters.
And when was Maverick released? Because
A couple years ago.
that was so good.
Maverick was so good. Top Gun, I didn't see for 2 years because I had just started my mission. So when I got home, I went and saw it. It was good then. But I think Maverick is one of the most creative, well-written, constructed movies that we've seen in a long, long time. Plus, it was the first movie that got us back to the theaters.
Is it the best sequel
after
of all
COVID.
time?
I think it could be.
Could absolutely be.
Rocky 2 is pretty good.
Yeah. So
But that was right up there.
Wicked 2's coming out sometime. Wicked.
Wait, Wicked Part 2?
Yeah. Because Wicked tricked us.
Yeah, the first one was 3 hours.
I went to Wicked and it only went to intermission.
Yeah, to halftime.
Yeah, they tricked me.
Yeah.
But I'm still looking forward to part 2.
Born on May 12th.
Yeah, birthdays. 1820, and this is big time. We're going to start big time. Florence Nightingale.
That is big. 1907, Katharine Hepburn.
Another big time.
Yeah.
1925, Yogi Berra of the Yankees. I have a book of just Yogi-isms.
Yeah.
We're going to have one here in a little bit.
1928, Burt Bacharach. What did he sing? Raindrops keep falling on my
Raindrops
head.
Keep Falling, which is the theme song from Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, which I love. So, 1937, George Carlin, the comedian.
1950, Billy Squire. It's always a great day when you're listening to 103.5 FM here on a block party
Squire.
weekend and Billy Squire comes on.
Yeah, he was
Because then
good.
you're getting 3 songs.
Yeah, you're exactly right. 1968, Tony Hawk, the world-renowned skateboarder.
Did he not make skateboarding? He made the X Games.
He is skateboarding.
He made skateboarding something that became a bazillion-dollar
You're
business.
not even allowed to say skateboarding without going like Tony Hawk. You have to say it.
And on this day, May 12, 1970, Mike Weir, 2003 Masters champ and BYU grad, BYU's only Masters champion.
Where's he?
Mike Weir, born on this day.
How about deaths on May 12th, 2001, Perry Como.
And 2018, Chuck Knox,
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh
Great
Steelers
coach. So.
Our Wise Guys inspirational quote of the week is from Yogi Berra, who, as mentioned, was born on this day in 1925.
And this is in his book of Yogi-isms. So, and it says, he said, baseball is 90% mental and the other half is physical. That's
true.
That's so
Isn't that
Yogi
true?
Berra.
That's Yogi.
So Yogi.
Hey,
Do you think he did that stuff on purpose? Like all of those quotes, did he do them on purpose, or that just naturally, that crazy funniness just come out of him?
I don't know. Maybe it started that way, and then he's like, "Hey, every time I say
my
something,
goodness,
it's in the New York
his
Times."
stuff is funny.
We want to remind you, we're giving you an opportunity to become a wise guy or girl for a day, to join our show and share your favorite BYU sports memory with our worldwide audience. So we've got a little contest to make that happen that we're going to do over the next few weeks.
Yeah, so here's what you're going to do. Follow us on Instagram and X. So go to those 2 platforms and follow us at Wise Guys. Drop a teaser of your favorite BYU memory in the comments. So you go to our site, you give us a little teaser of what your favorite memory is, a little quick synopsis of your favorite BYU memory in the comments. Tag a friend while you're at it, and then share your post to your stories. That gives you an extra entry. So if you just do the first part, you get an entry in the contest. If you then post it to your stories, you get an extra entry. So you get a bigger chance, and hopefully have better luck than the Jazz.
Yeah.
Because even though they had the highest odds, they did not get the number 1 pick.
So we'll have that available through June 1st. We'll announce the winner on our show on June 2nd, and then get you scheduled to come on the Wise Guys, and we'll introduce you to the world and talk about
tell your story.
BYU. It'll be a lot of fun. Our special thanks tonight to Abby Gray and Makeila Lawrence, a couple of the Cougarettes, a program that has 26 national championships on campus, and BYU English professor Frank Christianson, who played defensive back in the early 90s with Dewey Gray and had some, mano-a-mano altercations with Marshall Faulk and Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, that's quite a story. It was great. The guests tonight were fantastic. Absolutely, thanks. Next week, Jeff Hansen of 24/7 Sports talk about this tremendous recruiting. He's a recruiting insider and always great when he comes on the show. Plus, Mike Lacey, former BYU tight end, the man who may have made the most important catch in BYU history.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times we think of Clay Brown's grab. This one
is pretty big.
This one's debatable. Yep. This one was very, very important.
Very important. So,
congratulations to our friend Sherry Dew. She delivered the commencement address at Southern Virginia University, received an honorary degree of humane letters. She used Kevin Young's theme of stacking wins and encouraged the graduates to stack days and make the most of their time here on Earth. You can see our Wise Guys interview with Sherry at wiseguys.com.
It's been how long? It's about time we get Sherry back on the show.
Yeah.
So she's due for another appearance. So we'll have to talk to her and see when she can come back on.
All right, here's where you can find us this week. Where can we find you?
I'm traveling this week, so I've got to be gone the rest of the week. And then
so you won't find Blaine unless you're on the road.
And unfortunately, my amazing Uncle Mike passed, and I have to fly to North Carolina. Not have to. I'm going to fly because I want to be there with my Aunt Arlene. And I won't be here next Monday. Okay. So you have fun with my buddy Mike Lacey and with Jeff Hansen. But I'll be at a funeral next Monday honoring the amazing life of my great Uncle Mike.
We will see if Bilo will join us or Jason Shepard for our show next week. BYU Utah Tuesday night is sold out at Miller Park. That's at 6 on ESPN+. I'll be on the call there with Gary and BYU Texas Tech through the weekend on ESPN+. And in the Deseret News all this week, I've got an article coming out that it focuses on the adjustment for the fan coming up, because so much of BYU's illustrious past has been surprises.
Yeah, overachieving.
Based on surprises. And I list a whole bunch of them. They just kept coming out. And even in a well, they were favored to win that game. But the surprise was Johnny Harleen got open somehow in the back of the end zone, and they pulled that out. But now it's expectation for basketball and football. And so it's going to be, we'll call it camouflage joy. It might be a little harder to find next year if you're just so conditioned to joy from surprises. And now it's joy from
living up to expectations.
Yeah, like can you enjoy a game that you only won by 10 points?
Yeah.
Instead of 28. And you know what? That's an adjustment for fans.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times, think of that Sam Houston game that BYU won a couple years ago, 14-0. That wasn't good enough. And that had more grumbling than anything.
They're not going to blow everybody out this fall like they blew out Colorado.
Yeah. Including Colorado.
Right. They were better than Colorado last year. They were.
Yeah.
They weren't that much better than Colorado.
And Colorado's got them in Boulder at the end of September.
And so this is a good league when you play really good teams every week. You got to come and play. I do think they have the right mindset. So we'll see.
And they have the capability and the talent.
I don't care how many they win by. They go out and just get 10 regular season wins again next year. I think they're in the CFP.
Yeah, I think you're right. 13-10.
I will be pumped.
Yeah. And so that's the challenge, but it's also the challenge everyone wants to have.
Yep.
We want to have expectations like Alabama that's bummed out that they're not in the championship game.
Right.
The rest of the country goes, well, how arrogant is that? And Alabama's like, that's what we play for.
Yeah, that's who we are.
That's our standard.
That's who we are.
And that's where everyone wants to be. If that's not your standard, Vanderbilt celebrated. They went to the Birmingham Bowl last year.
Yeah, I would be so disappointed if we went to the Birmingham Bowl.
so it's all relative, but that's coming out in the paper this week.
That'll be a great article.
We'll see what happens there. Run my mind, Wise Guys is presented by Brady Plus, distributed by the Deseret News. Great things are coming for the show, and we're so happy that you spend time with us on the live stream or listening to the podcast or watching us on YouTube throughout the week. It's everywhere, and we love it.
Yeah, and we're grateful to this great fan base that keeps us going. We appreciate it.
All right, for Blaine, I'm Dave. We're the Wise Guys. See you next Monday. Have a great week.